This is a dexterity exercise for the left hand. I usually show it to beginning students, but it's good to use as a warm-up no matter how long you've been playing. It's going to use all 4 fingers on your left hand, and they go by number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Basically, you're going to go through 4 frets per string all the way down and up the strings. A few things to point out for it are to play on your fingertips, not the flat parts of your finger, and to always keep your fingers down as you're playing. A lot of people will tend to do this at first and raise their fingers as they go, and you don't want to do that. You want to keep them down. Other than that, you want to keep your fingers as close to the strings as possible without actually touching the strings. The reason for that is the closer you are to the strings, the quicker you're going to be able to get to the notes. For holding the notes down on the frets, a lot of people will play right in the middle of the fret wires. I like to get as low as possible. Either way will work. The lower you are on the fret, though, it's going to enable your reach. And a lot of people, the first time trying this, it's the ring finger and the little finger that have the hardest time either reaching or just the strength to hold down the strings. And that's going to work out everything. I'll play through the exercise once quickly. And now go over it really slow. I'm going to go 1 finger at a time and keep them down as I'm going. You should really take your time with this exercise too. You don't want to do it faster than you're able to do it. Playing it slow, in all actuality, takes more strength out of your fingers because you're going to have to hold them down long enough to keep the sustain. So it's a very effective exercise no matter what tempo you're going. And to do it slowly, when you start out, something around this pace is good, but whatever is comfortable for you. And all the way down to the first high E string. After you get comfortable with trying to play downwards through the strings, then you want to try to be able to go back and forth. So you're going to go forwards and backwards through the same exercise. Going backwards is going to be a little bit different. It's going to feel different as well. You want to start, once again, now you're going to have all 4 fingers down when you start. And you'll hit the first note, then just lift your first finger, your 4th finger, sorry. Then your 3rd finger, then your 2nd finger. And by now you want to start making way up to that B string. And everything will be ready to fall into place. So you can play through it continuously like this. And from there you want to get used to, you want to practice it equal amounts, forwards and backwards. So I'd usually, as a warm-up before I'm going to sit down and play for a while, I usually sit and go through this forwards and backwards maybe 3 times or so. So this exercise works really well for a warm-up, whether you're just getting ready to play for a little while. I'll usually zip through that a couple times just to get my hands warmed up, but it also works well for beginners just as an exercise to develop the muscles needed in your hands. When people first start playing guitar, it takes on the average of about 2 weeks 10 days to 2 weeks for the muscles in the left hand to really develop and get used to playing through the strings normally. Obviously, when you're first starting out this exercise, it's going to take you a little bit longer to get through it a couple times. That's important that you just don't rush through it. If you start, you want to be able to catch mistakes you're making. For example, say I start raising fingers as I go along. So I'm going to go through it really slow and watch for that when that happens. And then my finger's coming up. So I'll just freeze right there, and just, if I have to use my other hand, whatever, I'll get that finger back where it belongs, and just keep concentrating on how I'm going to make my next move. At first it's going to seem really awkward, but I'll find a place and how it works, and if it still is really uncomfortable, I'll concentrate on where my thumb is. I like to keep it right on the middle of the neck, generally behind my middle finger. And that's going to enable, if my thumb's up higher on this side of my index finger, it makes it a lot harder to reach. So keeping it centered gives support balanced out to all 4 fingers, and it's also allowing me to reach a lot further if I need to. From that point, I'll be able to kind of use my thumb along with my fingers, so it's less work on my fingers. and it's not going to be so hard to hold down the notes. After practicing the exercise, and it's going to gradually become easier and easier to get there. When it starts getting easy for you, that's when it's time to step it up a notch, though. There's a lot of different variations of this that can be done. So no matter what level you're at, there's always a way to make it a very effective exercise. The first step would be just shifting up a fret every time you get through the strings, and shifting up again when you get all the way down the strings, back and forth. Basically, I'll start out normally with frets number 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I'm going to go 5, 6, 7, 8 down through all 6 strings. And when I get to 8 on the high E string, I'm going to shift up to 9 and go backwards. I'm going to go 9, 8, 7, 6 through the strings. And I get to 6 on the low E string. I'm going to slide up to the 7th fret on the low E string and go back through it. So a little faster, it's going to sound like this. That's a workout. With this workout, I usually like to base it around the 5th fret because that's the average spacing of the frets. They're larger at the top, of course, and get smaller at the bottom. That's just a good average place to get used to it. It's always a good idea to move it around, though. It's going to be a lot harder as far as stretch goes, starting at the 1st fret, of course. And it gets pretty tricky past the 12th fret as well, as the spacing is just so tight together. You definitely want to get used to it in all areas of the neck. Another variation, pretty much everything you start to learn for technique you can add into this exercise. A good example would be hammer-ons. As you get into those, just use hammer-ons through the whole, all the way down, and then pull-offs up. You can alternate fingers, so instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll go 1, 3, 2, 4. Pretty much anything you can think of that's in a pattern, the trickier it is, the better exercise it's going to be. It's just a matter of you want to be comfortable with the level you're practicing at. You do want to push yourself, but trying to jump too far ahead of yourself, it really leads to really bad technique and sloppy playing. Just like starting off the exercise, I've seen a lot of people that try to just zip right through it. When you do that, you can force yourself to play it a lot faster than you really can, but you end up missing the notes. It's going to sound sloppy, and you're not getting the workout, really. That's the essential part of the exercise, because obviously it's not a very musical sounding, not very melodic, which is also a good thing for especially the beginning stages of learning guitar, as it usually takes a little while for someone to learn how to tune their own instrument. So even if you're out of tune, there's really no excuse you can give yourself to not practice this exercise.